Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Hansen. It's good to be in front of you all in Shawnee. I'm based out of Chicago slash the Schaumburg location for ACA. I've been a member a long time. In 2020, right in the middle of COVID, Martin asked me if I wanted to spearhead this virtual B2B global group. And we did that. And it's been now, this will be the fifth year, which is crazy. And we're just helping business owners from all walks of life in every part of the country and even the world get connected up through all the various ACA groups and clubs. And obviously this one's B2B focused. And in my day job, when I'm not doing that, for the last 11 years, I own a business coaching firm. And I help business owners anywhere between the 2 million in top line to all the way to 25 million in top line sales. I help them scale and grow their businesses. Like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. I do a lot of speaking. I've had a podcast for 6 years too, and written a few books. And so I just love helping entrepreneurs and business owners grow their business, helping them get, if they're stuck, helping them get a little bit unstuck. And that's what I've been doing for, like I said, 11 years. So what I thought we would do today, one of these days, Martin, I'd love to kind of go around the Shawnee group and hear what everybody does. But for time's sake today, we're going to have a good time because we have, today we're going to be interviewing a fellow business owner, and which is fun because the person I'm going to introduce you all here today, Todd Diskin. I met Todd going on about a year, close to a year, and I did a speaking presentation for the franchise in which he rolls up to, called United Franchise Group out in Nashville. And I had the opportunity to meet Todd at that event, and then from there, we started to have conversations, and then from there we engaged in a coaching relationship, and I've been working with Todd ever since. And really excited to have Todd on board here with some of the questions that I'm going to ask him around him being a business owner. And we'll have about 12-ish or so minutes, maybe 15, depending on where we go. And then we'll have you guys break up into your own individual in-person groups, and then we'll split off into our virtual world. So Todd, can you hear me okay? Got to unmute yourself?
Yep.
There you go.
Good.
Cool. Well, Todd, why don't you kind of introduce yourself to the group, where you're physically located, how long you've been with ACA, and just a top level information about your business.
So my name is Todd Diskin. We've been part of the franchise organization, fully promoted. We used to be called Embroid Me. It started out Embroid Me in 2000, then they converted to fully promoted in 2017, just to have that name more encompass everything that we do. So when we started, more kind of an embroidery shop, but we really became a promotional or brand and merchandise business. So we've been doing it for 21 and a half years. My ACA membership actually started, Scott, one of my goals this year is growth. And Scott, was mentioning, I was saying, I don't like the B&Is. I don't like, some of these other networking things. The chambers aren't my favorite. Not as much B2B there. It's a lot of different kind of salespeople or MLMs or whatever. So he introduced me to Martin at the ACA. So I joined the Shawnee Club back in January. That's where I call home. I visited the others here in the area, but that one feels the most fit for us. Plus, we have a B2B Club locally that we do every Wednesday after our meeting, which is awesome. So been able to make some great connections there too. So I think that's pretty much the high level of what we've done. My background, I was an engineer by degree, worked in the plastics manufacturing space for 10 years. My daughter was born with some pre-existing conditions at the time we were living in Oklahoma. Kansas City was home for us. That's where my wife and I both came from. And they have a really good children's hospital that can do craniofacial surgeries. And my daughter, after 31 surgeries, just graduated college with a nursing degree and found out she passed her boards and is going to go back full circle and work at Children's Mercy on the floor she did all her post-op stuff with, and starts there next Tuesday. So it's kind of been that she was kind of the reason we knew we were going to come back home someday. she forced our hand. That's how we ended up being an entrepreneur, because we were both in sales, and our wings spread just a little bit, and didn't want to go underneath the thumb of a plant manager or somebody else telling me I'm gonna have to fly to China to do mold runoffs for 6 months, so and be away from my family. So that wasn't really part of the gig for us. So that's kind of how we got to where we're at.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. Other obviously business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders in the room. Um, if you would have had to pinpoint, and I know I'm putting you on the proverbial hot seat, what's one or two things that you can point to as to the reason or reasons that you've been successful this long as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? I mean, the average stat I think I read the other day is something like 50 to 60% of business owners don't make it past year 5. And then that becomes 80% don't make it past year 9 or 10. 21 years in business, year over year growth. What do you think is maybe one or two reasons why you've been able to have that type of success?
I think the first thing is we came in with a realistic expectation. There's a lot of people come in and they start a business, and but they have to maintain a lifestyle that they had afforded from their W-2 positions or whatever. And when you go to entrepreneurship and you start, like when we start our business, we moved back from Oklahoma to Kansas City. I'd been away for 10 years, so lost all my local connections. So my mom and dad, my brother, sister, so we had some referrals. But we didn't pay ourselves for a while. I mean, we did. We kind of like health insurance and cars and cell phones and stuff, but not a wage. And it was I'm not going to lie, it was a struggle. We burned through some savings, and at that point we're young, so our mindset was what's the worst thing that's going to happen? We're going to fail in the first 5 years, like you said. There's like 90% of people fail in the first 5, so we're young enough that we can recoup. Well, we got past the first 5, then we got past 10, and then it was like we're too dumb to quit at this point. So we just kept going, and then um, at some point during our venture, my wife, she's straight out into real estate. So that's been nice as far as having two income sources from two different industries has been helpful, because when the housing market's down, our business can still maintain it. So it fluctuates versus us all being in the same pool, I guess, of income. So that the diversity has been helpful as well. And the last thing you asked about success is just team members. We've had on my team right now, my general manager, or whatever operation manager, you can call her whatever you want to call her. She's been with me since she was 16 years old. She's 31 now. Does a phenomenal job. Her mom was our production manager. That's how we got to know her. And she's been with me now 20 years. So we've had some longevity with people. We've had some turnover in certain positions, obviously, but having a good core staff that you can count on and trust to do things while you're gone, which allows that life work balance stuff, is really, really solid. So that'd be one of the biggest things. Surround yourself with great people.
21 years is a long time. Everybody has ups and downs. Not everybody is motivated and inspired and let's go tackle the hill today. And you have your off days, you have your on days. What can you point to, maybe one or two things, as to how you continue to climb the mountain? Meaning, um, is there certain audios, or is there personal development? Is there someone that you can lean on that sort of lifts you up? Because all of us have on days, which we feel like we can do anything, but then we also have these off days. And if we have enough off days, it's hard to get back into momentum to have the on days, the wins, the successes. Is there anything that you can share that you've utilized or sort of leaned on to get you back in the game if you're feeling down and out?
A couple things. Number one is I've always surrounded myself with really good people within the brand. So if there was a top performer, I made sure I met them, and then most of them I ended up being in some type of peer group with. We'd
Mm.
share numbers, share just so we can understand our business and get off our island, so to speak, of feeling like we're woes me, and and understand that we all face similar challenges. Now, what I did realize at that point is different people have different strengths, so their challenges seem to be where their weaknesses are. Not, they could be really good at sales, but they're terrible at the financials. They may be really good at operations. That's kind of where I'm more on the operations side, and I struggle with maintaining a sales process, right? You have other, so there's things that everybody does well. So, but the other thing is, so I've always surrounded myself, I've been part of different organizations, the ad fund for our brand, also been on the mentor program, been a franchise advisory committee. So there's top owners that are involved in all those. So you become friends with those people. So those are people I make phone calls. So mentor, UFG or Fully Promoted has a really strong mentor program internally. The point, then you get to the point of where I am now is that we kind of the mentors are the mentors, but we're needing to stretch even further outside of our comfort zone, and we don't know what we don't know, and that's when we employed an outside help, which is Scott, and he's been able. I mean, there were some huge eye-opening light bulb moments initially. He's learned that I'm kind of hard-headed and it's hard to get through this big thick skull of mine sometimes, but no, seriously, he's done a great job of making us getting outside and understanding that we all have similar challenges. We just sell different widgets. So,
That's right.
And having somebody who understands that then can guide us when we're falling off, or if we have a question, he's helped me hire salespeople. He's done some things to support, which I haven't done well. And I was fearful of that for a really long time until I brought him on.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say, in terms of your biggest growth as a business owner? Again, 21 years is a long time. A lot of people probably listening and watching and in the room there in Shawnee, maybe they're a couple years in, maybe they're just getting their feet underneath them. And they don't know what to do in terms of time spent. Do I do business development? Do I go to 15 networking events? Do I do marketing? Do I do emails? Do I do what do I do with my time? What could you say to that other entrepreneur that says, "Man, I'm wearing a lot of hats, I'm spinning a lot of plates." How do you parse your time so that your time as a business owner is spent doing the right things?
I've said for a long time that we've been a very good reactive company, and this year with your help, Scott, has been looking proactively. So I'll just give you the very first one. Would be I was fearful. I hired a sales guy, was with me for 8 or 9 years, left in 2017. When he left, it's weird. It's for whatever reason it became more profitable, probably because I have a salary, but he wasn't a high margin sales guy, but he did bring in business. So you pushed me over. What I've really realized, we have one commodity that we all have that we share equally, and that's time. And if you just have to look at what are you good at. If you're involved in every order, every this, every that, every aspect of everything, you can't grow because your time you have a limited amount of time. So you got time and output, right? So what can I do from a time standpoint that gives me a high output in return? So who can do the things over here that don't give me a high return with the time? So it could be, am I going to use a administrative assistant as an overseas assistant somehow? And we use an overseas team to do a lot of order entry for us just because it's very inexpensive and they're detail oriented. Not that they're perfect, they're not in a long stretch, but they save us a ton of time with our people. So it allows them to go do things that are more proactive in the growth of the business.
If someone's watching this saying, "I'm at that point where I'm just wearing too many hats, but I'm not making the kind of money I want to make," should they be thinking about hiring first so that would allow themselves to free up their time to go maybe hunt for new business to bring in more money? Or do I bring in the money first and then I hire? What's the old chicken and egg syndrome? Is it you have to hire first with the notion that that hiring person is going to free me up from the mundane activities that's not allowing me to grow the business? Or do I have to grow the business first and then bring on the, as you said, administrative assistant?
Um, I think you can hire early, but I think you need to hire and know what you need them to do. So I do think you need to understand what are your struggles and what you need to get accomplished before you just hire. So that's my opinion, because if you're just hiring to hire, then you don't really know what the hell they're supposed to do. So they're never doing what they need to do, right? I think you need to, if they need to input bills, if they need to answer the phone, if they need to catch walk-ins, if they need to do basic social media, because I know there's owners doing social media, doing their email outreach, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. And there's a lot, like I tell people all the time just in our business, we're in the brand and merchandise business, which is a very narrow pie, the whole marketing, HR circle, whatever you want to call it, right? And people want to go online and figure out, we want mugs or we want shirts or we're going to go to an event and I want to buy these widgets. Okay, this is the widget I want. But we're the ones who understand our industry. We understand the 3,000 vendors and the millions of products and the results we're trying to get, right? If I want to use the social media, there's guys inside. I'm using a guy inside ACA right now for our social media and website design. He's phenomenal and he's affordable and he cares about my business. So get that off my plate. What is $750 a month if you can gain 20 hours of time? What's your time worth? Are you a $10 an hour employee, $100 an hour employee, a $500 an hour employee? Well, every owner ought to be at least valuing their time at $100 an hour. So if you spend 10 hours a week, that's $1,000 a month you can afford, because that 10 hours can be done on other things to grow business. So that's the biggest thing. Outsource to what you're not good at. You obviously don't want to overspend. Everybody's conscious about things like that, but we have to be. I think you have to be smart about, like, I like being in my financials. I like entering bills. I like knowing where that money's going, because that's, at the end of the day, we're all in business to make money. But we also want to be fair with our clients. But I like that. A lot of people, there's so many businesses who don't understand a P&L. That'd be another thing I'd say is huge. Understand where your income's coming, where your outgo's going, and what personal expenses are you running, what your vehicle costing you. When you do that, it really opens your eyes to what adjustments you can have in your business. Because from the most simplistic place in business, there's 5 things. You have sales, cost of goods, employees, operating expenses, and profit. And we can really, these 3 right here determine what the net profit is. And that's what we take home every day. That's what we go on vacation with. That's what we do all those things for. So just being able to count that money right, and don't try. I think you may need to trust people, but that's your money. You work hard for it. So you can trust other people with it, or you can just trust yourself, and I would outsource other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So much wisdom. I think we can talk for probably the next hour and a half, 2 hours, but I want to be respectful of the Shawnee folks in their weekly meeting that they have. So Todd, is there anything else that you wanted to leave with the group, or anything? If anybody's wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you if they want to talk to you about branded apparel, if they want to talk about merchandise, if they want to say, hey, maybe I used to work with the company, but they weren't as receptive, or they weren't calling me back, or they weren't as fast, they weren't as price sensitive, whatever the case is, how does someone get a hold of you?
So the best way, I mean, obviously for the ACA members, you can find me in the member section of the website. But my email is tdiskin, TDISKIN @fp-kc.com. I think you can see it on, if there's a multi-picture up there, you can see it on my face, or on my video. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I'm 54, so texting, I don't love texting like some people do. So I know people love that immediate response and stuff. So if you text me, you won't get an immediate response unless it's a question. If it's a question, I might answer. But if it's a statement, I definitely don't answer. That's probably the best way. And then, as far as, one piece of advice is, just get out of your comfort zone. I was also busy with life, right? I had kids playing sports, and that was one of my goals in life, is to coach all my kids in sports. So my focus wasn't 100%. I mean, it was on the business, but I was also thinking about that too, because that's what we love to do as a family. So now that they're gone, and they've grown up and graduated high school now, we have time, and we get to play back in the game again, which I'm kind of excited about. It's been fun being challenged and being pushed outside of our comfort zone for the sales, for the managing different people differently, being questioned about your business that sometimes irritates you, but it's a good irritation because it makes you think. And if you're not thinking about things all the time, you're going to fail. You just got to always be thinking about how you can do things differently, better, tweak this, modify that, and just improve on the things that happen. I mean, and mistakes happen. So,
Well, I appreciate Todd. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work we continue to do. And I'm glad we're having an impact on you and the business and also the community, because that's what it's all about, is helping other folks within the community and other business owners within the community with what you're doing. I'd like to, Martin,
just
if you're
one of
okay,
just
go
one of
ahead.
the things. The last thing I'll say is, like, from the ACA standpoint, which I really enjoy this group just because it's, I know I saw Tom Rochevis walk in there while behind Martin a minute ago. I mean, the owner of one of the largest insurance or benefits company in the area, right? I mean, you don't get that at a BNI. You don't get a national level award-winning coach at a BNI. Not typically. Maybe you go to Schaumburg. I don't know, Scott, but and the ones I've gone to, we didn't have that level of people. We had, there's a lot of, again, multi-level marketing. Not that they're not in ACA, but there's, like, I got high-level printers, high-level insurance agents, PEOs. We have, website marketing. We have a ton of people. So, I mean, my goal in the ACA is to meet as many people I can and find as many referral partners as we can that we can benefit from each other's services, because nobody's an expert 100% in everything they do. I'm not going to build a website, nor do I want to be on social media doing that stuff. I want to put logos on stuff to help you reach a certain goal, and that could also be in line with that full marketing circle of online, of social, telling your brand story and being consistent with it, because promotional product oftentimes is somebody's first impression of your business.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. Thanks again, Todd. Appreciate everything that you're doing, man. For sure. Martin, is there any questions? Anybody have any questions before we?
Well, let's open up any questions to Tom sitting right here. Any questions? Tom be a great interview, by the way, in the future. Speaking of Tom.
No, I know a little bit about Todd's story. And I agree with him. I agree a lot with how Todd runs his business. Unfortunately, when you run your business, it's 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
You like to have balance in your life. But at the end of the day, I'm very motivated to get up in the morning. And I guess the thing and I hear Todd, he doesn't really say it, but he loves what he does. And I think it's very important that you work for a company, or the company you own, you care a lot about it.
Yeah.
Because that gets you up in the morning and you're out and about. And if you do something that you love, work is easy. If it's work, that's when it's really tough. And I have not loved my work my whole life. I had to reinvent myself 3 times from the time I was 20 years old to the time where I'm at now. And I found myself in large publicly traded companies that I realized that was not my niche. I found myself in sales positions where I was pushed to be a one-call closer, and I'm not a one-call closer. I don't like forcing people to make decisions, especially when we're talking about huge financial decisions. And that just wasn't my piece of cake. But you know what? At the end of the day, I still learned a tremendous amount about myself and the industry that I'm in right now because of, running through some obstacles. But, the one thing I know about Todd is he is very passionate about what he does. He loves his company. He believes in his product. And sometimes that's half the battle.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And give us a quick high level of your company.
So Buchanan Companies is a privately held employee benefit insurance agency. We really, we play in the marketplace with Lockton, who is the big man on the block. But I just saw our ratings come out. We are number 4 in the Midwest. And our niche is really small businesses with less than 200 employees. Lockton plays in the sandbox with the large companies. So I don't compete against Lockton a lot. Our niche is really the small businesses. At the end of the day, most employers have to offer benefits to retain and keep good employees. So it's just as important to a 5-employee business as a 1,000-employee business.
Yeah.
What we see at Buchanan Companies is that small business market can be underserved by a lot of insurance broker agencies. They don't give it a lot of attention, a lot of love because you're not making a lot of commission. Our bottom line is, you know what? If you do a good job for a business, yeah, we have a 5-10 employee business and we're not making a lot, but you put 4 or 5 of those together, that equates to 100 employee business. So, you know, it works for us. And, we really love Kansas City. We have offices, in Lawrence, we have them in Columbia, Missouri, St. Joseph, Missouri. But most of our clients are within a, driving distance. Most of my clients, I'll drive, I'll do the meetings, drive back that night. I love being in my bed at night, so.
Well, thank you, Tom, for
Yeah.
sharing your thoughts. with
Yeah,
us about
absolutely.
Todd. Anybody else have thoughts, questions for Todd or Scott? Okay, all right, we'll do it locally here, but thank you. Do you have a kind of a game plan or mission for us on a topic we want to discussion topic you recommend?
I do. Let me pull it up.
Thank you.
All right, let me see if I can.
Thank you,
find it.
Todd, for sharing. That's fascinating, great wisdom there.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you
me.
coming on with us. All you do, people.
Hey, Martin, can you hear this?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, so here's the hot topic of the day. Are you ready?
All right.
Emily owns a residential general contracting business.
Okay.
She officially bought the business from her father last year. Prior to this, she was working in the father's business for 10 years, so she grew up in the father's business. The business is doing 1.5 million in gross sales. She's only netting 3%, which is about 45 grand a year. So top line 1.5, netting 3%, around 45,000 a year. Emily has 3 full-time employees, 2 office staff, and 1 project manager. Everyone on the team communicates through text messaging, email, and phone. She's averaging about 65 hours a week and feeling burnt out. She's not only the owner, but she also wears a lot of hats, including being the project manager. She wants to expand and increase her gross revenues and profits and ultimately sell the business in 5 years. As her strategist team, what are the 3 things or 2 to 3 things that you'd have her do over the next 6 to 12 months in order to help her reach her goal of selling within 5 years? Again, $1.5 million business, 3% net profit. She has 3 full-time employees, 2 office staff, and 1 project manager. She's working about 65 hours a week. She's burnt out. She's not only the owner, but she also wears a project manager hat. She wants to increase the business, grow revenues and profits, and sell the business within 5 years. As her strategist team, what are the 2 to 3 things that you'd have her do over the next 6 to 12 months, or we'll just call it 12 months, in order to help her reach her goal?
Can I ask one question?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
What's her net profit goal?
She doesn't know what her good question. She doesn't know what it is. So that's something you'd want to flush out with your strategist team to see what the net profit goal is. But she ultimately wants to get her net profit increased. She's not sure what, because she's so buried in the business, with the ultimate goal to sell. So hint, you bring up a good point, as a strategist team, when you go to sell a business, one of the new owners is going to look at what is your EBITDA or your profitability, your net profit. And so that's something you're going to have to talk to her about.
Okay.
I'm
We got one more question here.
I'm just wondering, is the business surrounding products or is it surrounding services?
General contracting, so services.
Okay. Well, my first recommendation would be contact you, Scott. She needs some coaching for sure. And then listen to this video, hear the words of wisdom from Todd. That would be really helpful too. But beyond that, we'll figure out our marching orders here. So, thank you for all you do in your leadership at B2B Club.
Good to see everybody. It's good to be here, and thank you, Martin.
We'll see the second Tuesday of July.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Okay.
I'll let you guys talk online now.
Okay.